Welcome to Crime Stoppers. I'm your host, Chip Brown. Heartland Crime Stoppers is a community-based program designed to help law enforcement solve crimes by providing a way for the public to phone in tips anonymously and receive cash rewards of up to $3,000 for information that leads to an arrest, the recovery of stolen property, or the recovery of illegal drugs. Heartland Crime Stoppers is funded through the state of Florida, Office of the Attorney General, Crime Stoppers Trust Fund, and through donations from the community. Citizens and local businesses make Crime Stoppers work. On today's show, we will talk with Brandon Ball, a law enforcement major and a bomb technician with the Florida State Fire Marshal's Office, Bureau of Fire and Arson Investigations. The Bureau of Fire and Arson Investigations is a law enforcement branch of the Division of Investigative and Forensic Services and conducts fire, arson, and explosive investigations, as well as other related criminal investigations statewide. Brandon, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Chip.
You cover a large area and have a lot of stuff that you have to do, but before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you started as an EMT and firefighter and law enforcement officer. You have a varied career.
Yeah, I kind of grew up in a firehouse. My dad and my granddad were both firefighters in Avon Park. So I kind of knew very early which way I was pointed in life. And at age 17, I attended the fire academy and EMT school, and off I went. My first job was with Hardy County Fire Rescue. I worked for them for about 7 years as a firefighter paramedic. Then ultimately went on to Sarasota County Fire for about 2.5 years. And on my days off, I worked for Wauchula Police Department. So I did that for about 5 years before I came home to the state of Florida.
Yeah, well, that seemed that really prepared you well, plus the education and schooling. Besides your bachelor's and master's degree, you also went to the FBI National Academy.
Yeah, I've been very lucky, and I can tell you, education has opened doors for me. I graduated from Avon Park High School. Some people fly that flag pretty high. That bar wasn't too high for me when I was growing up, but I married a principal, so she kind of made sure we towed the line, if you will. So I didn't take my first college class till I was 30 years old. But I can tell you, since that day, education has opened doors for me, both personally and professionally, without a doubt.
And as you say, at 30 years old, it's never too late to start that process. You know, life gets busy, and it's not that you have the time, but you make the time.
That's right. It's never a good time to go to school. You just got to do it. You know, it's a great way for us to set an example for our kids. We've got 2 beautiful daughters, and you know, what a better way to get them pointed in the right direction than showing them what to do.
Exactly. Now tell us about your job with the State Fire Marshal's Office and what you do. It's kind of not a secret or hidden organization, but it's not real high on people's radar. Tell us a little bit about what you and your agency does.
Okay, so I work for the Bureau of Fire and Arson Investigations. Most people, most commonly relate us to the Division of State Fire Marshal. We work for the State Fire Marshal in Florida, who happens to be the Chief Financial Officer, which is a cabinet level position up in Tallahassee. At the moment, it's Jeff Atwater. He is retiring and moving on to another venture. And I think this Friday we're swearing in Jimmy Petronas, who's been appointed as the new CFO by the governor to kind of finish out this term. So the Bureau of Fire and Arson Investigations, it's a pretty small agency. We're only about 110 sworn officers statewide, but we have people from Pensacola to Key West. And our mission in life is to really assist local fire departments, law enforcement agencies with any and everything dealing with fire and explosions. So local departments that don't have an investigative unit, by Florida Administrative Code, they're required to conduct an initial investigation to try to figure out how a fire started. Certainly, we don't want it happening again.
Yes.
And if they can't figure that out, they pick up the phone and they call us. Our people are very highly trained. Initially, we send our people up to about 320 hours of schooling specialized towards fire and explosions, and it really teaches them not how to be the police, but how to do a fire and explosion investigation. So the people that we hire typically come with at least 3 years of prior law enforcement experience. We typically don't hire people right out of the academy. We're not trying to teach somebody how to be a law enforcement officer. They should come with that requisite knowledge already. but we're going to teach you how to stay in a very narrow lane and focus on something like fires and explosions, and be that point of contact and that expert for local departments that don't have that expertise in-house. So we take a lot of pride in being a national leader in the field of fire and explosion investigations. A lot of national standards we're required to follow. We're required to follow, you know, the U.S. Constitution like every other law enforcement officer in the Florida Constitution, and uphold laws that pertain to, you know, fire and explosions. And that gets us into things like meth labs, grow houses. You know, people start fires for a variety of reasons, including, you know, covering up other crimes like homicides, kidnappings, sexual batteries, domestic violence. So although we stay in a very narrow lane and focus on getting really good at doing those kinds of investigations, we partner with other agencies in those other kinds of crimes because it's all connected. In Florida, arson is classified as a forcible felony. It's a first degree felony in the state of Florida, punishable by up to 30 years in prison.
Indeed, most people don't realize that.
It's right next to murder, kidnapping. So arson is a serious crime. Many people, you know, view arson as just a property crime. But let me ask you this, Chip. God willing, this doesn't happen, but you go home today and you find that your entire home, your life savings, everything you've worked for your entire life is reduced to about a foot of black and gray ash. Your house is burned down. Would you take that personal, or do you think it's a property crime?
I would probably take that a little personal.
There you go.
Yes.
So, you know, so do we. And so has the Florida legislature, who, you know, classified this as a first-degree felony. So we take it very personally when people use fire as an instrument of violence, and that's been going on for hundreds of years. And I think it'll continue to go on for hundreds of years, that, you know, fire is going to be used as an instrument of violence and terror. And we're pretty proud to say that we're experts in investigating that type of crime.
Yeah, how many cases do you typically investigate in a year or assist with?
Okay, so agency-wide, our department, we engage in about 4,000 investigations statewide.
Statewide, and that's quite a number.
Ultimately, we put somewhere between 600 and 800 people a year in jail for either arson or arson-related crimes like insurance fraud. We partner with other agencies, making sure homicides are solved and people are held accountable for that kind of thing. In this particular area, the Polk County Field Office covers Polk, Highlands, Hardee, and DeSoto counties, and we've got a lieutenant and 6 detectives that work just that footprint, and that's all they do in those 4 counties. Now, obviously, they get to other counties because, you know, arson is a crime that can cross jurisdictions.
Certainly.
But we're pretty lucky. We've got a very talented group of you know, people in our stable here locally. We have 2 canines in the area locally, including an arson, an accelerant detection canine. There's 6 of those in the state. There's 1 in each of the regions we cover. We also have an explosives canine in the region. It's the only one that we have, our department has, you know, statewide. So we're pretty proud of you know, the talent that we've got here locally. You know, we've hired people who are used to be crime scene supervisors, people who used to be FWC officers, homicide detectives for other sheriff's offices. Some come from smaller police departments. So kind of getting that good mix of experience has been great for us locally. Many of the people we hire are local people. They come to us with you know, a vast amount of local knowledge and contacts, and that's invaluable in the field of law enforcement. It's just being able to communicate with our partners.
Exactly, it really is. You had mentioned earlier about, you know, getting into with meth labs and grow houses. You had mentioned earlier that you do a lot of work with the area sheriff's departments and police departments on search warrants, primarily for that very reason, because of the dangers of a meth lab. Tell us more about that.
So one of my tertiary duties is as a bomb technician. There's about a dozen of us statewide that do that kind of work. We're really the only state law enforcement agency that has a statewide bomb team. FDLE Capitol Police has bomb techs that are primarily assigned to the Capitol complex up in Tallahassee. We're really the only state team out there that can go and work anything, really anywhere in conjunction. We're also members of the the Tampa Bay Regional Bomb Squad, which is made up of members from the Bureau of Fire and Arson, Tampa Police Department, Hillsborough Sheriff's Office, ATF, FBI, Manatee SO, Citrus County SO. So there's about 6 or 7 partner agencies because when you're talking about explosives, things tend to slow down a lot. And when we're trying to mitigate an emergency, we don't want to be running wide open. So we don't want that kind of incident to be a manpower drain on any single agency. So, you know, if we ran a call for an explosive incident here in Polk County, you're likely to see somebody like me. You might see a Manatee County Sheriff's Deputy with me. You may see a Tampa police officer with me. So in the world of explosives investigations and bombings, obviously being a bomb tech is a specialty that we enjoy doing. But not every agency out there has that kind of asset. Yeah. You know, you're looking at the bomb team for Polk County right now. So Polk County Sheriff's Office, one of the best agencies in the state of Florida, and if not the nation, does not have a bomb team. They rely on the Bureau of Fire and Arson to provide that level of service, and we bring some pretty specialty pieces of equipment, lots of robotics. We've got about 8 or 10 robots statewide, a couple of them staged here locally in Polk County. We have the ability to x-ray things remotely. Hook and line kits where we can do things very remotely without putting an officer in harm's way. And we have partnered with a number of local SWAT teams to provide some of that specialty, if you will, yes. To agencies that don't have that kind of equipment. So we very regularly integrate our bomb guys with local tactical teams, and we provide predominantly robotic support for teams. We can send a robot into a location and provide, you know, visual intelligence. We have communications remotely with a robot. It has about 6 cameras on it. We can breach doors, and we can do all that without putting that first officer in harm's way. So we're pretty proud that you know, we've enhanced officer safety, particularly for these guys that do tactics and tactical type operations for a living. Very dangerous work, and whatever we can do to make that work a little bit safer for them, we're well equipped and well prepared to do that for them.
Yeah, a bomb, if an explosive, something goes off, it's very indiscriminate. It doesn't care who is where or what you're behind or what you're wearing.
That's right.
And certainly, like you say, you have to use an abundance of caution.
Yeah, so some of the SWAT teams that we do a lot of work for, it's got absolutely nothing to do with explosives. Somebody may, they may run a call of a barricaded subject or a kidnapping situation where if time is on our side, we're going to use a piece of equipment rather than send a person in and put them in harm's way. So, you know, we're proud to be partnered with a number of agencies to provide that level of support.
That's very good. Now, I know that recently we had a number of fires down in the Indian Lakes area, and I know we got tips that we forwarded to you for investigations and follow-up stuff. So even as Crime Stoppers, we get tips that assist you when you have another venue that helps with your fire investigations.
Sure. So we're real proud in all areas of the state to partner with, you know, organizations like Heartland Crime Stoppers, and there's similar organizations in every area of the state that we partner with. But one of the biggest partners we have is through the Florida Advisory Commission on Arson Prevention. That acronym is called FACAP. They have a website, facap.org, where you can go on and view information about fires under investigation. They have a tip line just like Crime Stoppers does. It's 1-877-NO-ARSON. And people can anonymously provide intelligence and tips concerning fires that have occurred in their area. You'll very regularly see us investigate a fire, and if we determine that it was arson, we're probably going to post a big sign, and it's a FACAP reward sign. And that FACAP reward is up to $5,000 for information leading to an arrest on a case. It's anonymous, just like Heartland Crime Stoppers. It's kind of run by a very independent organization outside of my agency. So, you know, we don't really have a dog in the fight, but if somebody wants to provide information about a first-degree felony, we're happy to take it and use that information and try to hold somebody accountable.
Yeah, so many people know stuff, but they just don't want to come forward, and you know, they have to have a venue to be able to get that information to you sometimes to protect themselves from being known, because again, some of these arsonists are pretty violent people.
That's right.
And that's the last thing you want to do is wake up middle of the night and smell smoke in your house. And
that's right. Well, again, people have been using fire as an instrument of violence and terror for hundreds of years, and they continue to do that. And that's what we're after, is those kinds of people with that kind of mindset, because your house that may be burned down, that's been firebombed, that's not a property crime, Chip. That's something that you take very personally.
Absolutely.
And we take it personally as well. So we're proud to, partner with Heartland Crime Stoppers, with the Polk County Sheriff's Office, with Lakeland Police Department, with Winter Haven Fire Department. Every agency kind of in our footprint here locally, we have established just a phenomenal relationship with, and we're proud to bring, some of the expertise to the field of fire and explosives investigations. It isn't a specialty that most agencies have. It's a pretty tedious process. It's very scientific. We're held to many different standards, but our people regularly provide expert testimony when they're in court in both civil and criminal cases, and people look at us to be able to provide, kind of that guiding scientific-based principle of, this is why this happened, based on my training and experience, that a crime occurred, and we want to hold those people accountable.
Certainly. Now, you had talked earlier, we talked about the Indian Lake fires and the impact that such a large area fires and suspected arsonists, same one setting multiple fires in different locations. But you had indicated that some of the cleanup and access for emergency personnel getting in and out after that was very interesting. Tell us about that.
So, we're not unlike any other public service agency out there, any other sheriff's office, any other police department, fire department, EMS department. We rely on the partnerships that we have with the community and our other public safety partners to be successful. If we don't have kind of the coordination and that communication with members of the community for some of the rewards programs, for instance, we're not going to be as successful as we could be. So we look to partner with, everybody out there, and if they have information that's going to be useful to us, we want it. Every one of our regions in the state, 6 of them, has, we call it a dually and a New Holland combo. It's basically a skid steer loader. And we use that skid steer loader to kind of process larger fire scenes. It's funny, the first piece of equipment that was issued to me by the state of Florida was a shovel. And I got home, and as a proud new baby fire investigator, I showed my dad some of my equipment, and he's a retired firefighter. And I said, "Dad, they gave me a shovel. What do you think they want me to do with this?" And he says, "Son, you're about to find out." And so a lot of work is done at the end of a shovel.
Yes.
Basically just layering and processing, inches up to several feet of fire debris, and it's a very methodical process. So we have some larger equipment available to us to process some of the larger scenes that we work, but we also partner with during natural disasters. We use that same equipment, New Hollands, Bobcats, chainsaws, to clear roads, clear boat ramps, so local fire, EMS, FWC can kind of get back out on the water, on the streets, and provide a service that's desperately needed in the midst of a natural disaster. So we integrate very regularly with lots of local agencies, lots of state agencies, and lots of federal agencies in the midst of a natural disaster. We sent a team to Biloxi, Mississippi, and we stayed there for about a month. And all we did was we teamed with USAR teams conducting reconnaissance and searches and clearing roads, clearing boat ramps, allowing members of the community just kind of get back out there in the public, which is, that's a natural way of life. You don't want to be just holed up at home just because it's raining or it's flooded outside. People want to get back out and see what's going on. So, we bring to the table some pretty specialized equipment that allows us to provide that service for locals, particularly in a time when they can't provide it for themselves. So we have a state gas card, and we will travel wherever there's a natural disaster or a large fire and explosion and provide that service for locals who can't do it for themselves.
Yeah, certainly having just cut down a tree occasionally myself around the yard, it takes a long time just for one tree. And
Sure.
If you're talking in some of these forest areas or natural disasters, you've got thousands of trees and debris and stuff blown all over. And you just don't think about the need for law enforcement or EMS or crews to get in and out of these areas, and it's a valuable service.
Access to the emergency is one of the first tenets of providing a public service. If we can't get to the scene of an emergency, we can't provide and render aid, and we provide that level of access for locals to kind of get back out there and start providing service, and we're pretty proud of that. We've done a lot of natural disaster deployments over the years. I've been with the state for about 18 years, and some of the most gratifying incidents that I've responded to have been simply getting somebody back into their house, half a mile away, or allowing somebody to recover one of their pets. They haven't been home for 3 days because they couldn't get to it. So it's a very gratifying portion of the job that we do.
Well, Brandon, we certainly thank you for telling us about the State Fire Marshal, what you do, and we certainly appreciate you and all your personnel's work.
We appreciate it. If anybody out there has any information about a fire, an explosion, they can certainly contact Crime Stoppers, and we can take their information as well at 1-877-NO-ARSON.
For more information about the Florida State Fire Marshal's office, you can check them out on the web at www.myfloridacfo.com. Crime Stoppers provides a way for local law enforcement to receive information on crimes while keeping the people providing that information anonymous. These efforts increase tips, which in turn solve more crimes and identify criminals in our community. Here's a look at some of our most recent cases.
On June 6, 2017, at approximately 4:50 p.m., an armed suspect entered the Chase Bank located at 1350 6th Street Northwest in Winter Haven. He approached the teller in line and told her, "Give me all the money and don't push the alarm or I will shoot you." Fearing for her life, the teller complied with his demands, placing the money inside a plastic bag he supplied. The suspect then ordered the teller at gunpoint to turn around and face the wall, which she did. The suspect then left the bank, and video from the surrounding businesses show him entering a white four-door vehicle headed northbound towards Avenue M Northwest. Do you recognize this woman? At around 7:20 a.m. on Monday, June 26, 2017, she stole a silver 2016 Nissan Sentra with the Florida tag HBYG93, a rental car from 915 Dundee Road in Dundee. The car is owned by Hill Nissan in Winter Haven. The car was left running at the time of the theft with the doors unlocked. The suspect fled south on US 27 towards Lake Wales from Dundee Road. Photos of the suspect and an example of the car, year, make, and model can be seen here. Polk County Sheriff's Office wants to know, do you know where 43-year-old Marvin Florent is? He lives at 1928 Thetford Circle in Orlando. He has warrants for engaging in systematic scheme to defraud Walmart and Sam's Club, where he and his co-conspirators have stolen cellular phones, identities of 63 victims, worth $64,263.74 of merchandise and $1,850 in promotional gift cards. Bartow Police Department needs your help in locating Ray Jr Pennington, who has warrants for 3 counts of grand theft, 3 counts of uttering a forged instrument, and 1 count of scheming to defraud. Pennington's date of birth is 9/29/1986. He is 6 foot tall and weighs 190 pounds. His last known address was 15 Southeast 8th Street in Fort Meade. Pennington frequents the Fort Meade area, and Pennington represents himself as pastor of Ray Pennington Ministries and also uses the business name Visionary Enterprise Group, LLC. The Lakeland Police Department needs your help in identifying this suspect of a vehicle burglary that occurred within the city limits of Lakeland on May 29th, 2017. Lakeland police need your help in identifying this suspect of a grand theft that occurred within the city limits of Lakeland on June 6, 2017. Lakeland police need your help in identifying these suspects of a grand theft that occurred within the city limits of Lakeland on June 4th, 2017. On Wednesday, June 21st, a distraction burglary occurred on North Cumbie Road in Lakeland, during which the homeowner was lured outside by an unknown Hispanic male to talk about repairs to the victim's roof. The suspect was holding a handheld radio, which he used to tell his co-defendants, a Hispanic male and female, that the coast was clear. While the first suspect kept the victim distracted outside, the other two suspects went into the house and stole thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. The suspects were in an SUV like this one. On Friday, June 23rd, a distraction burglary occurred on Country Oaks Boulevard in Lake Wales, during which the homeowner was lured outside by an unknown Hispanic male to talk about trimming the victim's trees. The suspect was holding a handheld radio, which he used to tell his co-defendants that the coast was clear. While the first suspect kept the victim distracted outside, other unknown suspects went into the house and stole thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. The suspects were once again in an SUV like this one. So this suspect walks into a Love's truck stop on U.S. Highway 27 North in Davenport, selects an item, then pays for it with a stolen credit card. He's wearing a white shirt, dark pants, and is either white or Hispanic. The credit card was in a wallet that he stole on June 11th from the victim's unsecured car in Davenport. This suspect, possibly Hispanic, who was at a 7-Eleven store located at 4975 South Florida Avenue in Lakeland, stole $30 worth of merchandise. If you have any information on any of the cases you've just seen or any information on an unsolved crime, please contact Heartland Crime Stoppers and leave an anonymous tip. The toll-free tip line is 1-800-226-TIPS. That's 8477. You can also leave an anonymous web tip by going to www.heartlandcrimestoppers.com and click on the Give a Tip tab, or by going to www.p3tips.com. Don't forget, you can download our free P3 Tips app on your smart device. Whichever way you choose to leave a tip, you will remain 100% anonymous. If your tip results in an arrest, the recovery of stolen property, or the recovery of illegal drugs, you could be eligible for a cash reward of up to $3,000.
That's going to do it for this edition of Crime Stoppers. We certainly want to thank our guest, Brandon Ball, for his information today. Now keep in mind, Heartland Crime Stoppers is an organization that helps law enforcement solve crimes through anonymous tips and monetary rewards. It encourages a cooperative partnership between law enforcement, the media, and the community to ensure security and enhance our quality of life here in Polk County. For more information, you can check us out on the web at heartlandcrimestoppers.com or follow us on Facebook at Heartland Crime Stoppers Florida. Until next time, keep in mind, it's a crime and you can help make sure that they don't get away with it.